We feel that the children that we receive coming into our home are bonuses. So we call them bonus babies.
I love that. A show that has no easy answers, only hard questions. Welcome to the Bonus Babies Podcast. This is your host, Jane Amelia Larson, and I'm a CASA, a court-appointed special advocate volunteer for youth in foster care. Yeah, I know it's a mouthful. In the same way a CASA works, I explore all things in the foster care maze by talking to kids, parents, caregivers, attorneys, social workers, therapists, really anybody and everybody who will speak to me to keep the conversation open and the information flowing about all things CASA.
For anybody listening, the following content may be disturbing. Please take care of yourself and others who might be listening with you. Hi there. My name is Jake Eberly, and I'm the producer on Bonus Babies. And the reason I'm here is because about 6 months ago, Janie asked me to come on board to help her produce these episodes in order for these people to be heard, because it's necessary for them to be heard. And honestly, after the first episode that I heard that was already completed, I couldn't imagine that these people didn't have a voice. So it was very important for me to help get these stories out there. I hope you find them as powerful as I do. Now, while we're working on the second season, we wanted you to hear some special moments from the first season and excerpts from the upcoming season. First up, Janie speaks with Deron Bennett. He had a very difficult youth. He was living on the street for a while. He was taking care of his brothers. His mother was in and out of facilities because of her own addictions. And he taught himself to read when he was 11. Then he went into the Army, and he was a signal specialist. And I think that translated very well into his next career, which was getting into the cryptocurrency arena with the sole intent to end generational poverty.
What would you say to a little kid who's having trouble, the kind of trouble that you had, who didn't know where he was going to sleep or where he was going to eat or who was going to hit him or who was going to abuse him? What would you say to that little kid?
Wow. Firstly, I would just let him know that, everything's going to be all right. Even though, everything looked like it never is going to change, especially since, a lot of the time you feel like you're stuck in this this dark hole. It feels like, no matter what you say, what you do, no matter how good you try, you still will not get out of it. It's like a nightmare, Yeah. And it feels that way. It feels like you can't escape. It feels like you're drowning. You're drowning in pain. You're drowning in sorrow. Like whatever you're doing, it's just the pain that you feel. You want it to end. But the thing is, there's also the other side of the token. It actually changes. It does end, and it does get better. And it's not going to always be this way, because you're not going to always be that child. You're going to grow up, and you're going to be able to make those choices yourself. You're going to be able to be the person that you wish that person was.
That's a really nice thought, Deron. That's really nice to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really do feel like, if being in that situation and as a child and you feel so lost, and in that darkness, it really does make you think that why are you even here? Like, why would you be born just to be in this struggle? Why would you be born just for people to abuse you? And unfortunately, we live in a world that's like, there's a lot of bad people. But we also live in a world where there's also good people. And we just have to either find those good people or be the ones that end up growing up to be those good people for the people who are like us when we're young.
That's right. You become the good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really glad that you're doing that, Deron. I think it's a really important mission.
Absolutely.
The next guest we're going to hear from is Tina Festa. She was in a dysfunctional home as a youth, and at 13 years old, her mom's boyfriend seduced her with alcohol and drugs, and she got pregnant. She kept repeatedly trying to get help during this time, but no one would pay attention to her until she had the baby. And then once she had the baby, she was accepted into the system, and she was very depressed. She wanted to kill herself. Finally, she ran away, and when she came back when she was 18, after living on the street and about with addiction, she realized that she wanted to help others that had been as damaged as she was. So she went to college and is studying to be a psychologist so that she can help others. And she has also become a CASA, which is a court-appointed special advocate.
And I was talking to a friend, the friend that had realized something was wrong with me that the day I tried to kill myself. And he said something to me that like just changed my life, because he was like, you don't have to be there. You are in control of your life. And it just was revolutionary. I literally the next morning I ran away because it was awful in there. And I was on the run for 2 weeks before I got caught.
How did you get caught?
I think of something stupid, like I was jaywalking, and they tried to run my name, realized I was a minor. They took me to my caseworker, who was devil. She actually ended up getting fired, I found out, because she was scandalous. But she took me to this group home in like Casa Grande, which is basically just the desert. And those places are awful. And that's another thing that I think that is important for people to know, that people just don't have any reason to know, is that there are not enough foster parents for all the foster kids that there are, or all the kids in the dependency system that need a placement. So a lot of these kids get put into these shelters. And the one I was put into was a boy and girl shelter. And so it's a group of 30 people, 30 kids with maybe like one adult or two adults. That it's kind of like a jail is basically what it's like, except for with less supervision. And essentially there's like a living room with bedrooms on one side and bedrooms on the other side. The boys were in the bedrooms on one side and the girls were in the bedroom on the other side, but there's nothing blocking in between. And at night when we would like fall asleep, the boys would like sneak around, because like the caseworker or the supervisor, adults, whatever, would fall asleep. And the boys would like come in and like try to like sexually assault us. And it was miserable, and the people that were taking care of us were very mean and just treated us like we were prisoners who had done something wrong that they were there to punish for some reason. So I ended up, after the second night of being there and having another, I woke up and there was like a boy on top of me, like trying to he was like 17. He wasn't even like a young boy, and he was pretty big. After that, I was triggered because I had dealt with a lot of abuse as a child, sexually. And I don't know, it triggered me in a way that I just couldn't do it anymore. So I ended up running away from there, and I was on the run until I was 18. I stayed on the run after that. So that's my story.
Right. So when you say on the run, you were homeless, you went from friend to friend, you couch surfed. What did you do?
I stayed with a friend for a while. I ended up posting an ad and becoming a nanny. And I was a live-in nanny for a while. I ended up running a daycare for somebody.
And obviously they had no idea you were on the run.
No idea. No idea
You were in hiding.
They didn't even know how old I was. And what's crazy is that even to this day, if you look up my name, you'll see missing person. Like that's the first thing that pops up, because I was on the National Endangered Children's list. Like there was one day I went to Walmart and my picture was on the wall with all the other missing people.
Wow.
Yeah, you can still see it. The picture's still up online. If you, which freaks people out when they try to look me up. They look me up and they're like, "Are you? How old are you? Are you on the run? Are you missing?" Because they never like took it down for some reason. But
so what happened then? You're 18, and then did you know that now you're 18, you can do what you want, or did you?
Well, yeah, so essentially in the first year or so after I had run away, I ended up developing an addiction to opiates, like pain pills and stuff like that. And then I ended up developing an addiction to heroin, and that kind of ravaged my life for a few years. And I got arrested for shoplifting a sandwich. And like in my mugshot picture, I look bad, and I was only barely 18, I was a baby. And I just was alone, in the world. I didn't have anybody. I didn't have parents. I didn't have family. So I just was trying to stay alive. And the problem is after you've come from that kind of background, we go towards what's familiar. And what was familiar to me was abuse and was, not the right kind of environment. And so I kept perpetuating the same abuse that I endured as a child by getting with these abusive boyfriends, and I got clean 4 years ago now. And I don't know why. I'm just nervous. I don't know why I knew that off the top of my head. I don't know why I said the wrong number.
And you put yourself through school. How are you in school?
I'm doing that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How did you get to all that?
Well, that's the thing, is that it was a rough road. I realized one day that I was worth more than, because I just had no self-worth. I felt alone in the world. I felt like the world was just an awful place with awful people that were mean, and that there was just no good in the world. I thought that I was a kind of person, because I've always had this huge heart, and I don't kill bugs, and I've always just loved so genuinely and completely, and I just felt really alone because I had never seen anybody else be like that. I had never seen anybody else just have the same kind of, for example, when you love somebody, your natural instinct is to want to protect them from harm. And I'd never seen anybody else have that instinct towards me, at least. And so, yeah, I hated the world, and I just kind of wanted to die. And I ended up meeting somebody who was really kind of incredible, that helped me out of a lot of it. But because they were the first person ever in my life that was consistent and just was, sorry, go ahead.
And is that person in your life still?
He died of cancer. What's crazy is that the way I met him was that this was after I was 18, I believe, and I was on drugs at the time. And my biological mother had gotten in contact with me. I had been living with like some I'm just going to say it. He was like a pimp, and a couple of his like girls that he, and, I wasn't 18 at the time. I wasn't yet. And I obviously wasn't willing to do that. And they were basically, the girls were getting mad that I wasn't doing that, and they were, and so I finally was like, I gotta go. So I left there, and I didn't have anywhere to go. So I got in contact with my biological mother of all people, and she invited me to come stay where she was. Well, she had some sort of mental breakdown that night and was trying to get me removed from the house. And her boyfriend, or, the guy that she was with, stood up for me that night, and he was like, I'm not going to throw her out. What are you talking about? And that was the first time in my life anybody had ever done that. Anybody had ever just like not like it, normally any other circumstance, it would have just been like the easiest thing. It's easier to just have her go and not have to deal with the conflict with the mother, but he protected me from her, and that meant so much to me because I just never had it happen. I was already packing my stuff up, and I just was so kind of defeated at this time by the world that I didn't even think twice about it. It's just like, oh, this is normal. This is normal behavior to want to hurt your child for no reason. But after that, he just was genuine. He used to be a history teacher, and he kind of became almost like a father to me. He was the kind of person that would just sit and talk about, all the things he knew for like ever. And normally other people would just get so sick of hearing him talk, because he had bad hearing. So he just would go on forever about history and music and everything. And everybody else just was like, could only take him in small doses, but I soaked it up, but he was the first person that ever treated me like a human being. He didn't try to have sex with me, which was another really important thing to me because my interactions with men up until that point had always been, they wanted something sexual from you, yeah, basically from birth almost. But he didn't do that.
So Howie Cohen is a quintessential ad man. And I had the fortunate experience of working with Howie as a voice actor, doing commercials for a hospital in Philadelphia. We became friends and chatted often about all sorts of different things, about his career, about life in general, about our families. And in our many conversations, I also learned that he was a foster parent, and that at the peak of his career, his wife Carol came to him and said, look, I think along with our blended family, we should help others that have less means. And he said, okay, let's do it. And I was fascinated by that. And so when Janie and I were working together on the Bonus Babies podcast, I thought, well, why don't we interview Howie? Because he's in the system and on the other side of it, providing care. And I wanted to know his experience.
All right, so you had your training. You're ready to take a kid or kids, or you're ready to open your home. Did you feel that you were ready, or did you just do what you needed to do and hope for the best?
I felt we were ready. We didn't really know what it was going to be like. I don't think anybody can really know until it happens. But we were ready in terms of what we were supposed to learn and what we had studied up on and read up on what they say it's going to be like, because they try to prepare you as much as they can. And then, but once we were ready, there was no child just waiting to come into our home. And I said, okay, we did all this. Where's the child? And it just so happens, it ebbs and flows. Sometimes there are many just waiting, and sometimes there were none. At that point, there were none. So we waited, 2-3 weeks. And then all of a sudden, my wife called me one day and she said, we got good news. There's a placement for us. And I said yes. I said, oh, great. Do you have any idea who they are or who it is? And she said, well, actually, it's 3 African-American siblings, ages 5 to 11 or something like that. I said, 3?
Wow.
We're starting off with 3. So she said, yes, they need us. That was the line, by the way, they need us.
Yes, they need us.
And so these children came into our home, 3 adorable children, but children, rambunctious and competitive with each other, but needing help. And I say, if you're going to bring 1 child into your home, it's a bit of a challenge. If you're going to bring 2, it's could be problematic. And if you bring 3, it's crazy. It was
crazy, huh? It was crazy.
It was great. I mean, these were our first placements, and we got 3 kids in our home, and you got to take care of them and feed them and bathe them and take them places, and but also you're starting to get a feeling in your heart for them, and they were really sweet kids. Fortunately for them, they had I think it was aunts who could take them in. And so they stayed with us for probably less than a week, and they were taken into their relatives' homes, which was good for them.
Did you ever find out what happened to them? Do you know anything about?
No, they don't tell you.
Yeah, they don't tell you, right? It's like you're pretty much in the dark about a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah, you're there to help to the extent that you can help. I mean, I guess that's good in a way. I guess there are foster parents who want to help temporarily but don't want a permanent attachment. Privacy issues are very important.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want their family to know that much about you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes some of those people in those families are not the most wholesome people.
Yeah.
So it's better that way, I think.
Right. So then you had other kids come into your house sometimes.
Yeah. Over the course of the next, I don't know if it was maybe 6 months, we maybe had another 6 or 7 what they call placements. And I don't remember all of them. I do remember 2 boys in particular. One was Hispanic. He was adorable. He stayed with us for about a week or 2. Arturo was his name. And we got along great. And we took him on weekends. We went down to the beach, and he just had the best time. And he felt safe and secure. And to the extent we could, we made him feel loved. And after him, there was this boy, what I call the typical American blonde, blue-eyed boy, really cute, about 8 or 9 years old. And you'd say, oh, this is like a Brady Bunch kind of kid. But we found out somehow that he came from a really terrible situation where his father was violent, and it actually, I don't know how to say it, but his father had killed his brother, beat him to death.
Wow.
That was terrifying. I don't know how much he knew about this. I think he did. Maybe
he must have seen some of it, probably, right? Or at least heard it.
Yeah, he must have seen the violence.
Yeah.
And yet he was a sweet kid, and And we had him for 2-3 weeks, I guess. And on the day he was to leave, he looked up at us and in the sweet little voice, he said, I just want you to know I really appreciate what you did for me. And I will always, you'll always be in my heart, and I'll always be grateful to you. This is from this child. So vulnerable, so beautiful, wonderful.
Next up, we have Venus Manuel, who was a foster youth, and Lori Nelson, her social worker, who Venus credits with saving her life. You're going to hear a little window into Venus's life with her family, her father being a pimp and her mother being an addict. And what we're going to hear in this next clip is about what her holidays were like.
And she paid attention. And the truth of the matter is that she bent rules, but those rules saved my life. And I know she always says, don't give me that credit and so forth and so on. And I'm at a place in my life where I can say, I know that I put in the work, but if I was in still that other place, no amount of work would have got me to where I needed to be because of the abuse and neglect and all the other things that were happening in that home. So I don't take it lightly when I give her credit. And I say it over and over and over again. And I tell her, stop being humble. I'm not going to say it if I didn't mean it, if it wasn't the reality. And it was. I went from being in a placement and multiple placements before that were abusive or neglectful or whatever the situation was. So I went from a place where literally there was every abuse you can think of, with the exception of, I will say this, it was never physical. I was never actually hit. Neither was my sister, but everything else was there. And she put me in a home. We didn't have everything, but I had everything because I was finally safe. Mm-hmm. She gets me, and I don't understand how she gets me as much as she does. But she does, which is another reason why I'm like, no, God sent her to me, because maybe I'm still a little crazy. I still got some issues.
Stop
which we laugh about, or, but even that type of bantering back and forth, you, I don't know. I never had that. So to have that in her is a blessing. I remember years when things like Thanksgiving, Christmas, I hated them. To be honest, I still don't like them just because of my past, but where I was like, I don't have any family to go to, before I was married, and I didn't have a and then when I found Mama Lori again, I know that I will never spend a Thanksgiving alone if I don't want to, that me and my son would be welcomed in her home.
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't feel like an outsider.
Never.
Just.
How does that make you feel, Lori?
I have a lump in my throat right now because I'm listening to her. I feel so special to know that she thinks I'm special. Honey, you are more than welcome any day. Open invitation. You don't even have to call. I've told her you don't even have to call me. I'm going to put you to work like everybody else. Get in there and fix your own plate.
But see, that's what's crazy. That's what I want.
Eat as much as you want.
That's what I want. Growing up even sometimes, and when you're in foster homes and, all that stuff, you're people start to serve themselves at Thanksgiving, right? And you're standing in the back waiting for your plate because it's not your turn yet, so to speak. Or like, why are you at the front of the line? Or, oh, and who are you?
Right.
Oh, you're the new foster kid.
Yeah, that's awful.
It was never just, baby, come on. Even in the homes of my biological family, when I was in foster care with them, I know, and I have no qualms, that I really could show up at Mama Lori's house and be like, I'm hungry. Mm-hmm. Happy Thanksgiving to us. And she'd be like, come on, baby, get yourself a plate,
right.
blah, blah, blah. The way that it should be.
And take some food home. There's plenty of food. Take it home, too.
That's right.
Just...
all of those things. The way that it should be, I guess. I know that there's no such thing as normal nowadays, but the things that you dream about when you're in foster care, the things that you wish you had, when you do go to a friend's house and their family laughs and reminisces and all of those other things,
right.
Mine weren't like that. There was actually one Christmas. It was 3 days before Christmas, and my mother and my father were not together and had been fighting back and forth. As a matter of fact, I think it was maybe 2 days prior to that, my father came over and got into a fight with my mom and literally was stomping her in her face outside, and I broke them up. And then the 3 days before, he comes back. And I was actually in my aunt's room, and I was cleaning my gun. My uncle had given me a gun because my father, it was causing a lot of havoc. And my uncle actually even put it on to me. My uncle and my mother's new boyfriend said that they were going to take care of my father. And because my uncle was head of the BGF, which is the Black Guerrilla Family. And this was also when my mother was having me help her to run drugs in and out of the prisons. And I was like, I don't want him dead, but I just want him to leave us alone. So anyway, he comes to the house. I'm the one who opens the door. My mom was scared, and he was like, let me in. And I was like, no. I was that teenager, and he was the old school father that was like, I'm the one who made you, and I will take you out. And he tried. He pushed his way into the house, and he wasn't the first time, but he started to beat me like I was a grown man. And I remember my mom saying, I'm not going to say his name, but call so-and-so, call so-and-so. And I was literally on the floor, my father standing over me, and the door swung open, and my dad stands up, and there's a man in the door with a gun pointed at my father. And he opens his jacket, like he puts his hand like towards his jacket, and he turns towards the guy, and he goes, what, you gonna fucking shoot me in my own house? And the guy just started shooting and shot my father right there in front of us. Wow. In front of me and my sister. And at that time too, Crystal, she has asthma. I heard her go, and then she just wasn't breathing. She was just like not breathing. And so my thing was first my sister. And I ran to my aunt's room first, though, to try and get my own gun. And Crystal wasn't breathing. And I was like, I got to get her inhaler. I got to do something. And I even tried to run into my room. But it was a night that it's beyond. Jane, it will be in the book, I'm sure.
Right. So that's your Christmas, right? That's your 3 days before Christmas.
Yeah. He was shot. My mother ended up leaving us the next day to go and visit her boyfriend with his blood still on the floor. The lights were turned off that next day because she didn't pay them. My other foster brother was there. And this foster brother was somebody that I had known from junior high who was already in a group home, but used to come to my house. I mean, my mom would let anybody come through basically. And my foster brother was a bit wild like us. And so anything that my mom taught him, he took on. You know, she would even get the dope sometimes, and then he would help to sell it. He'd help us to bag it up. And when I say bag it up also, my mom would have us pack little tiny colored balloons. And when we would go into the prison, by the way, I had to hide it. I mean, I was a teenager, and she was making me stick it inside of a condom and hide it in my vagina. And we'd go into the prisons, and we'd buy M&Ms, and I'd go into the bathroom, and we'd empty out all the M&Ms and then put the little colored balloons in it. And then when I'd come back out, her boyfriend would eat them like they're M&Ms. And then a few days later, dig them out of his feces, sell it, and then send us money and keep some of it for himself. Wow. But yes, then my mother left. And when I think about it, it almost even takes me even to another place. But those were the types of holidays that we had. So holidays for me are still very hard.
So next up, we have Cody Reniger, who was one of 5 children by 5 different fathers, living on the streets, under bridges and shacks and tents, and their mother was incredibly abusive. And so eventually, when he did make it into the system, he was adopted by a family who thought it best to beat the devil out of him. But his message is actually very positive because he believes that there is somebody out there that can help you.
And you know what? Some of the most beautiful people in my life really were just there. A lady in my kindergarten, or that was the crosswalk guard, my kindergarten, she shed so much love to me. And just those 2 moments in the morning and in the afternoon that I felt like she was so safe. And all she did was walk me across the street with her stop sign. But she would stop, and every now and then she would look at my shirt and look for bruises. And I didn't know what she was doing. I was just like, what the hell is this chick doing in my, but she'd hug me, and then she would pull my shirt and look and stuff like that. And then she in turns, she told this pastor that she had that came and talked to us. So there's people that are looking, to those babies out there, there's people that are looking to help you. Just let them help you.
Wow, thank you, Cody. Thank you very much for all of this.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
You're an amazing person.
You know what? So are you. And I would love to be involved in whatever you're doing to help more. Maybe we can get this ball rolling, and who knows what can come from this. But I'm extremely open to that.
That's really great. That's really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Bonus Babies podcast. And like he said, let's get this ball rolling, because we do know what can come of this. We believe there's a lot of power in listening. And by listening, we can learn and help make change in an effort to help fix a broken system. Please stay tuned. We're dropping season 2 in the near future. Be well and keep listening. And please help us help them by making a tax-deductible donation at BonusBabies.com.